It was 7:24 a.m. I remember the time exactly because I had just hit the halfway mark on my run down the North Trail, loop around the man-made lake, then back through the side path near the clubhouse. I did this every morning. Same route, same time, headphones in, hoodie on, pace steady. But this time, when I turned the corner near the tennis courts, two men in black security polos stepped out in front of me like they were waiting. Stop right there. No badge, no name tag, just crossed arms and mirrored sunglasses. I slowed, pulled out one earbud. Sorry? You live here? The shorter one asked. His voice was clipped, aggressive. Yeah, I said. Unit 204. I'm just running. Got ID? I frowned. No, I don't carry my wallet when I run. The taller one stepped closer. Then we've got a problem. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Because what you're about to hear is not just a story. It's a warning. The shorter guy, the one with a sunburned neck and the energy of someone who thinks his flashlight gives him power, motion behind him. You're trespassing. This is a private community. I live here, I repeated, slower now. My mom owns the condo. Name? The tall one barked. Jaden Cole. They didn't react, didn't check a list, didn't call anyone. Just looked at each other and then back at me with that look, the kind you get when they've already decided who you are. You got ID? He asked again. I just told you. Then you're coming with us. I laughed. I actually laughed because I thought it was a prank. Two HOA security guards trying to pull rank on a teenager during his morning jog. But they weren't joking. One grabbed my arm, firm too firm. Hey! I jerked away, instinctive. Not aggressive, just surprised. That's enough, the short one snapped, now fully blocking the path. I didn't do anything. Refusing to identify yourself, possible evasion, acting suspicious. Suspicious? I blinked. For running? They exchanged a glance. Let's go, the tall one said. And just like that, I was being walked off the trail surrounded by stairs, other joggers slowing down, dog walkers pausing mid-step. No one said anything, not one voice. The guards kept their grip on my arms as we passed the tennis courts, the playground, the pool house. Every time I opened my mouth, they tightened their grip or cut me off. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't cursing. I was just asking questions. Why was I being stopped? What was the rule I broke? What gave them the right? We reached the security office, a trailer behind the clubhouse dressed up to look official with a flag and a couple of fake plaques. Inside, it smelled like burnt coffee and cheap air freshener. Sit. I didn't move. The tall one leaned in. You got a problem with instructions, son? I looked him in the eye. I'm not your son. He grinned like that was the line he was waiting for. Yeah, thought so. They made me sit in a chair in the corner, next to a water dispenser and a dying plant. The short one pulled out a notepad. Let's try this again. Full name, date of birth. What school do you go to? Why does that matter? Just answer. I'm not under arrest. He raised an eyebrow. You're being detained for questioning. I felt my throat tighten. That's not how this works. You're not cops. He slammed the notepad on the desk. We're community officers appointed by the HOA board. So you're security. Watch your mouth. I closed my eyes, tried to breathe. I wasn't going to cry. Not here, not in front of them. Can I call my mom? No phone until we verify your status. You think I'm lying? I think you're acting defensive. Guilty people usually do. I wanted to scream. Instead, I reached into my pocket slowly and pulled out my phone. Locked Face ID. Call her. Her number's right there. The short one grabbed it, stepped out of the room. The tall one stood by the door like a sentry. I sat in silence. Minutes passed. 10, 15. Then the short one came back, smirking. Mailbox, he said. Straight to voicemail, no answer. She's probably at work. Then I guess you stay here until she picks up. I blinked at him. You're holding me for not picking up a call? You're lucky we're not calling county. I clenched my fists. I didn't do anything wrong. Then prove it. I stared at the fake oak desk, the map of the complex pinned to the wall, the dusty photo of someone shaking hands with a guy in a suit. My chest felt tight, not from fear, but from something else. Helplessness. Not because I was guilty, but because I wasn't. Because I couldn't prove my innocence to people who didn't want to see it. I looked at the clock. 7:47 a.m. They said I didn't belong here. They had no idea who I was or what was coming. 8:12 a.m. They brought me a lukewarm paper cup of water like it was some kind of peace offering. I didn't touch it. I hadn't moved in 20 minutes. Not because I was scared. I was done being scared. But because I was watching every motion, every word, every smirk they thought I didn't see. You know, said the tall one, leaning back in his folding chair, people like you think you're owed something, that we should just let anybody walk around here without questions. I looked at him, dead on. People like me? He shrugged. You said it, not me. The other guy chuckled, like they were in on a joke I wasn't invited to. My hands tightened on my knees. I kept my voice flat. You're gonna regret this. Regret what? He smiled. Protecting private property? I live here. Still haven't proven that. I don't have to prove anything to you. He grinned wider, like he wanted me to raise my voice, to give him something. But I didn't. I sat there, steady, and then by some tiny miracle, I felt it. My phone buzzed. The short one noticed it light up on the desk. He grabbed it, scrolled. Voicemail again, he muttered. Damn shame. Except it wasn't my mom. It was my voice message going through. I'd set it to auto-send if I didn't unlock my phone within 20 minutes after a failed attempt. A quick voice recording with the address, time, and the words, something's wrong. Security has me. That message was on its way to two people, my mom and my dad. They still had no idea who my father was, but they would. 8:18 a.m. The short one was pacing now. The tall one sat forward, elbows on knees. They'd locked the door from the inside. I wasn't free to leave. They'd made that clear when I got up to stretch, and the tall one stood immediately. You said your name was Jaden Cole? Yeah. And your mom's name? I gave it, again, slowly. They scribbled it down like it was new info. What does she do? She's a teacher. Where? Middle school. Why? The short one laughed. Just curious how a teacher can afford a place here. The tall one added, Unit 204, right? Isn't that in the East Building? That's a higher tier. She has help. They looked at each other again, raised eyebrows. That word, help, stuck with them. They thought it meant a boyfriend, a sugar daddy. Maybe someone suspicious. What it actually meant was the man flying home at 600 miles per hour, 8:24 a.m. From outside the office window, a neighbor was walking her golden retriever. She paused when she saw me through the glass, gave a tight, awkward smile. I lifted one hand, just a little. She didn't wave back. She just kept walking. 8:31 a.m. The short one's walkie crackled. He turned his back and whispered into it. I couldn't hear the reply. His shoulders stiffened. He turned to the other guy. Someone's asking about the kid. Says he's with command. Command? The tall one laughed. What command? Didn't say, just gave a name. Told me to patch them through. And you didn't? I said we call back. You idiot. Then, the knock. 3 sharp raps. Both froze. The short one opened the door slowly, and that's when everything flipped. Two men in full military uniform stood outside. Not rent-a-cops, not guards. Real. One wore aviators, the other held a tablet. They stepped in without asking. "Is this the individual?" the one in front asked, eyes locking on me. "Yes, sir," I said. He turned to the guards. "Please sit down." "Who the hell are you?" the tall one snapped. The man reached into his jacket, produced a badge. Real metal, real seal. Lieutenant Colonel Darren Cole, United States Army. Silence. He looked at me. "You okay, son?" I nodded once. "I'm good now." His face didn't change, but I saw it in his eyes. Fury, contained like a grenade with the pin half out. He turned to the guards. "You two detained a minor without cause, without notification, without reporting the incident. We don't speak." He pointed to the camera on the ceiling. "Everything you said, everything you did, it's recorded. And in about 3 minutes, there will be 5 more officers on this property, including base legal, civil affairs, and a military police liaison. You will cooperate with the investigation, or you will be arrested for unlawful detainment, impersonating law enforcement, and potential civil rights violations." The tall one stammered. "This is a misunderstanding." "No," my father said, stepping in. "This is abuse of power, and it's over." He looked at me again. "Get up, Jay. We're going home." I stood. The short one backed away. I walked past them, past the fake desk, the dusty plant, the peeling rules poster. And just before the door closed behind us, I turned. "You still think I don't belong?" They didn't answer. They couldn't. 8:44 a.m. We didn't go home, not yet. Instead, we walked out of that security trailer into the clearest morning I'd ever seen. The sun was too bright, the air too quiet, like the whole neighborhood was holding its breath. A few residents had gathered on the sidewalk, watching, pretending not to. Behind us, 3 unmarked government vehicles were now parked across the clubhouse driveway. 2 soldiers stood beside each one, silent, composed. One of them opened the door for my dad without a word. He didn't get in. Instead, he turned and looked around, then at me. "You good to stand here a little longer?" I nodded. "Yeah." He raised his voice slightly, just enough for the onlookers to hear. "My name is Lieutenant Colonel Darren Cole. I've just been made aware that my son, Jaden Cole, was detained by 2 unauthorized security personnel acting outside of legal protocol." He turned toward the trailer. "They locked him in a room, refused him access to a phone, ignored verification attempts, all because he didn't look like he lived here." More heads turned. Phones came out, some subtle, some not. That's when a short, older woman in a turquoise jogging set marched over from across the green. "I'm Susan Mark," she said. "I'm the acting HOA president. This is highly irregular." Dad cut her off. "Number what's highly irregular is your board giving power to men with no law enforcement training and no legal oversight. What's irregular is them detaining minors based on appearance. What's irregular is a community that stands by while this happens." "Now just a minute," she snapped. "These men were only doing their jobs. This isn't a race issue, it's a security issue." "Good," he said. "Then you won't mind if we audit all HOA security footage for the last 6 months. Any instances of detainment, any patterns of behavior." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Dad pulled out his phone. "I've already initiated contact with the base liaison. Civil affairs will be coordinating with your board within the next 48 hours. I also recommend you notify your insurance provider." "Why?" she croaked. "Because this just became a federal civil rights investigation." Someone gasped. A man in golf shorts took a full step back. A kid filming across the street muttered, "Oh, she's done." Susan's voice wavered. "This is This is being blown out of proportion. Dad took a step forward. His tone didn't change. Still calm, but the air shifted. This isn't about proportion. It's about principle. My son's rights were violated. That doesn't get minimized because he looks like someone you wouldn't expect to live here. He turned back to me. Let's go. But I didn't move. Not yet. Because the short security guard, the same one who yanked my phone and laughed in my face, had just stepped outside. He looked different now, smaller, like someone who just realized the rules weren't written in his favor after all. He tried to say something. Look, kid, I didn't know. My dad cut him off. You didn't need to know who he was. You just needed to treat him like a human being. The man froze, and then as if on cue, the other guard stepped out too. He kept his head down. No sunglasses now, just eyes full of regret or shame or fear. I couldn't tell which. Susan started to speak again, but my dad raised a hand. This is done for today, but it's far from over. We walked to the SUV. The door closed behind us with a soft click. For a second, neither of us said anything. Then I asked quietly, "You think anything will change?" He looked over at me. "Son, they just learned the hard way that not everyone they dismiss is powerless. That's how change starts." Outside, more residents had come out. A few waved, others just stared. One woman wiped her eyes. I think she was crying. The driver pulled away. And for the first time all morning, I felt free. 10:16 a.m. The SUV slowed as we approached our building, but it wasn't the same as usual. Two police cruisers were parked near the leasing office. One of the soldiers from earlier now stood watch near the front entrance. Across the lawn, the maintenance staff huddled in whispered conversation. The community was awake and watching. Inside the car, my dad was quiet. He hadn't touched his coffee. The cup sat cooling between us. I stared out the window, my reflection blurry against the morning light. "What happens now?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his inner coat pocket, pulled out a folded document, and handed it to me. It was an official letter from the Department of the Army, Civil Affairs Division. "HOA board will be audited for compliance," he said calmly. "Security operations suspended, and your case is being escalated for review." I skimmed the page. My name was on it. So was his. The language was dry, formal, but the meaning was clear. They were taking this seriously. The SUV stopped. We got out. By the time we reached the building's front steps, our neighbor, Mr. Cartwright from Unit 206, met us. He was holding a clipboard, shifting awkwardly on his feet. I just wanted to say, sorry, I saw them with you this morning. I should have said something." I nodded. I wasn't sure what to say. "They've been doing that stuff for a while," he added, "asking questions, picking who to bother. I didn't know it'd get that far." My dad nodded once. Most people don't know until it happens to their own. We walked past him. No anger, no drama, just quiet. Inside, Mom was waiting. She pulled me into a hug so fast I barely had time to drop my bag. Her hands shook. She didn't say anything, just held me for a long time. Then finally she pulled back. "They didn't hurt you?" "No," I said. "Not physically." She looked at my dad. "Thank you." His voice was low. "We're not done yet. 11:03 a.m. HOA emergency meeting. Open attendance." Dad insisted we go. I didn't want to. Not because I was afraid, because I was exhausted. But he said something that stuck. "If you don't stand in the room, they'll tell the story for you." So I stood. The clubhouse was packed. Residents filled every chair, every corner. Some stood by the back wall. Others watched from the hallway, craning their necks. Phones out. Whispers everywhere. Susan Marks sat at the front table. Her smile was back, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We're here," she began, to discuss the unfortunate misunderstanding involving one of our young residents and our community safety team. She used that word, misunderstanding, like it was a spilled drink or a parking mix-up. Dad stood. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was unlawful detainment. Susan straightened her notes. The guards believed he was not a resident. They followed protocol. What protocol allows them to lock a 17-year-old in a room without notification? Murmurs. A few audible yeahs. Susan tried to recover. There are security procedures, but maybe we need to review them. A man near the window stood. My son's been questioned 3 times walking home from school. He's 12 inches. A woman raised her hand. My niece came to visit, and they made her sit at the gate for 40 minutes because they didn't like her ID. Someone else added, I got followed for walking my dog without a leash. But my neighbor never gets stopped. And her dog bites. It was unraveling. Susan tried again. We're all neighbors here. Let's not make this political. Dad turned to the room. His voice was calm, measured. This isn't political. It's about power, about who gets questioned and who gets believed. My son was detained for jogging, and instead of an apology, you're offering excuses. He paused. Security is important, but dignity is more important. Respect is more important. The moment we let people with badges act like they're above those values, we've already lost. For a second, no one spoke. Then someone clapped, and another. It grew, not like a standing ovation, but like a signal, a shift. Susan's face tightened. We'll review the contract with our security vendor, she said through clenched teeth. Dad looked around the room. No more fake officers. No more intimidation. We'll hold a vote, and this time we'll do it in the open. He looked at me, then at the crowd. This isn't just about one morning. It's about what kind of community we choose to be. And for the first time, I saw it on their faces. They were choosing. 12:17 p.m. Back at home, I was on the couch, holding Smokey. Our cat, a rescue with one eye and zero tolerance for strangers. He purred like he didn't care what happened that morning. Like it was just another Wednesday. The knock at the door changed that. 3 short taps, then silence. I looked at Mom. She looked at Dad. He stood first, motioned for me to stay seated. He opened the door without hesitation. It was one of the guards, the tall one. His uniform shirt was untucked now. No badge, no radio, just a man standing in a hallway that felt smaller than before. I wanted to apologize, he said. Dad didn't answer. The man looked over his shoulder. No one was with him. Then he looked at me. I didn't know who you were. You didn't need to, I said. He nodded once. Swallowed. You're right. Dad stepped aside slightly. You want to say something, say it properly. The guard stepped in. His eyes darted from wall to wall like he was afraid someone might film him. He looked at Mom too. I'm sorry. For what happened? For how I treated you? I messed up. We both did. I got caught up thinking. I had more power than I did. No excuses. Just silence. I looked him in the eye. Are you quitting? He hesitated. Then, we were let go. HOA cut the contract this morning. Good. Then he did something unexpected. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. From it, he took a card. Wrinkled but clean. A business card. On the back, he'd written something in pen. My uncle runs a program for teens who want to go into security the right way. Background checks, de-escalation, ethics. If you know anyone who needs help, send them this. I took the card. Not because I forgave him, because I wanted to remember. 1:04 p.m., the email came while we were eating lunch. Subject, official notification, HOA leadership restructure. 3 board members were stepping down. A temporary committee was being formed. Residents were invited to apply. And at the bottom in bold, emergency HOA authority, suspended pending legal review. All security operations frozen. Mom read it out loud, then exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for days. Dad just nodded. I stared at the words. Not because I didn't believe them, but because part of me hadn't realized how deeply this whole thing had gone. 2 hours, that's all it took. 2 hours of being unseen, unheard, unprotected. Now they were rewriting rules. 3:29 p.m. Downstairs, people were gathering. On the main lawn by the fountain, not a protest, a conversation. I watched from the balcony. I saw faces I recognized. People who never waved before. People who looked away when I passed. They weren't looking away now. One guy brought folding chairs. Another set up speakers. A woman laid out bottles of water and juice boxes. It felt like a block party that had no reason to celebrate, except maybe it did. Dad joined them. So did Mom. Then someone looked up and waved at me. I hesitated, then went downstairs. People parted slightly when I stepped onto the grass. Some nodded. Others said hi. One woman actually handed me a plate of cookies and said, "You deserve something sweet after all this." Someone asked if I wanted to speak. I didn't. Not really. But I took the mic anyway. Not because I wanted to be the center of attention, but because I remembered what Dad said. If you don't stand in the room, they'll tell the story for you. I looked out over the group and I said, I've lived here for 3 years. I've walked these paths, played ball at that court, took my cat to that vet across the street. I never thought I had to prove I belonged. I paused. People were listening. But yesterday I wasn't a resident. I wasn't a neighbor. I was a suspicious person. And the only thing that changed today was that my dad wears a uniform. I let that sit, then added, but not everyone has a dad like that, and they shouldn't have to, because dignity should come standard. I stepped back. No applause. Not right away. Just quiet nods. That was better. 6:41 p.m. Golden light spilled across the lawn like melted butter. The kind of light that made things look softer than they really were. The kind of light you only notice when a hard day starts turning into something else. People were still outside, talking in clusters, sitting on picnic blankets. Someone had started a fire pit near the pool deck, even though it wasn't technically allowed. No one stopped them. The HOA didn't matter now. Not tonight. I stood with Dad near the fountain. He was in jeans and a plain black tee. No uniform, no medals. Just a man drinking lemonade and watching his son be seen for the first time. I didn't know people would show up, I said. He smiled. They didn't come for the rules. They came for each other. We both turned as Susan Marks approached. Her steps were slower now. No clipboard, no blazer, just an oversized sweater and tired eyes. "Mr. Cole," she began, then caught herself. "Lieutenant Colonel." Dad gave a tight nod. "I wanted to say..." Her voice cracked. "I was wrong." She looked at me, not through me. I let the wrong people have the wrong power, and I didn't ask enough questions about the security team, about how they treated people, about how I treated people. She held out a letter. Typed, signed, her official resignation from the board. Dad didn't reach for it. I did. I read it quickly. No excuses, just ownership. Susan's voice dropped. "I know an apology doesn't undo what happened." I said nothing. Then, "It's a start." She nodded. "If there's anything I can do..." "There is," I said. "Next time, speak up before someone else has to." She gave a long, slow nod, then walked away. I looked at Dad. "You believe her?" "I believe people can change," he said, "if they want it bad enough." 8:03 p.m. We sat at the kitchen table, the three of us, empty plates, a half-eaten pie, the cat stretched out like a judge on the countertop. My mom scrolled through her phone. "Someone posted your speech." "Oh, God," I muttered. She turned the screen to me. Thousands of views. Comments like, "This kid just said what we all needed to hear. Powerful beyond his years." Hope the HOA took notes. Dad chuckled. You're internet famous now. I didn't mean to be. Doesn't matter, he said. What matters is you were honest, and people listened. The room got quiet. Then my mom reached across the table, took my hand. I'm proud of you. I looked at both of them. Thanks, I said. But I didn't want this to happen to prove anything. I just wanted to go for a run. Dad nodded. Now you can. 10:15 p.m. I laced up my shoes again, stepped outside, same sidewalk, same moon. But it felt different, not because the world had changed, but because I had. And maybe, just maybe, and the people around me had too. They said I didn't belong here, but they were wrong. I do, and I always did.